Hi, welcome back to Developmental Psychology, Week 7, Chapter 14, Psychosocial Development in Emerging and Young Adulthood. Chapter 14, Learning Objectives to describe identity development and the relationship with parents in emerging adulthood. To summarize theoretical perspectives on adult personality development. Identify key aspects of intimate relationships and love. Characterize marital and non-marital lifestyles. Discuss parenthood and the pressures on dual income families. And identify trends in divorce and remarriage. Paths to adulthood. 3 primary paths to adulthood are young adults who begin families early and generally do not go to college, young adults who delay children until young adulthood, but who, rather than investing in college, move into full-time work, and emerging adults of both sexes who delay parenthood and other traditional markers of adulthood in pursuit of educational or career goals. Identity development. Identity status research has found that only about a third of Western youth seem to go through the moratorium status, a self-conscious crisis that ideally leads to a resolution in identity achievement status. Still, 3 of 4 young adults settle into an occupational identity by their late 20s. Identity confusion persists for 10 to 20% of young adults who lack fidelity, which is faith in something larger than themselves. Identity commitment across cultures overall is associated with high subjective well-being, low internalizing and externalizing behaviors, and the attainment of adult status. Many minority youth, often out of economic concerns, must take on adult responsibilities earlier than their peers. For them, the process of emerging adulthood may be curtailed. Multiracial young people have the added challenge of figuring out where they fit in. There are 4 views of personality development. Normative stage models, which ask the questions, does personality change in typical ways at certain periods throughout the life course? Timing of events model, which asks the questions, when do important life events typically occur, and what if they occur earlier or later than usual? Trait models, which ask the questions, do personality traits fall into clusters? Do these clusters of traits change with age? And typological models, which ask the questions, can basic personality types be identified, and how well do they predict the life course? The normative stage model assumes that adults follow a basic sequence of age-related psychosocial changes. The challenge of young adulthood is intimacy versus isolation. Resolution results in the virtue of love, mutual devotion between partners to share their lives and have children. The timing of events model holds that the course of development depends on when certain events occur in people's lives. Normative life events typically happen at certain periods of life, such as marriage and parenthood. People are keenly aware of both their timing and the social clock, society's norms for the appropriate timing of life events. Typical timing varies from culture to culture and from generation to generation. Trait models focus on mental, emotional, temperamental, and behavioral attributes. The 5-factor model consists of dimensions referred to as the Big 5. Openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. trait model asks, do people change or stay the same? Overall, average personality changes are small. Agreeableness and conscientiousness generally increase in young adults, whereas neuroticism, extroversion, and openness to experience decline. The Big Five are linked to health and well-being, marital satisfaction, parent-infant relationships, work-family conflict, and personality disorders. The Big Five research originally made a powerful case for the continuity of personality. More recent research has questioned that conclusion, suggesting personality change occurs throughout the lifespan. The typological approach identifies three broad personality types: ego-resiliency, over-controlled, and under-controlled. The three types differ in terms of ego-resiliency, or adaptability under stress, and ego control, the self-regulation of impulses. Ego-resilient people are confident, attentive, and helpful. Over-controlled people are quiet, anxious, and dependable. Under-controlled people are active, stubborn, and impulsive. Relationships with parents. Emerging adults still need parental acceptance, empathy, and support. When emerging adults have parents who are closely involved, warm, and loving, they have higher levels of self-worth. Friendship in young adulthood is often less stable than in adolescence or later adulthood due to frequent relocations. Adults who report receiving support from friends are less likely to have depressive symptoms and at a lower risk for disability and illness. Young adults tend to rely on friendships to fulfill their social needs. Women typically have more intimate friendships and self-disclosure than men. Over time, the number of friends and the amount of time with them gradually decreases as other commitments increase. Close, supportive friendships are sometimes incorporated into family networks referred to as fictive kin. Research in action. What does love mean to you? Research shows that racial and ethnic minorities may be impacted more by stressors involving family relationships. Young adults in gender-traditional cultures with a stronger sense of family obligation are more likely to put family above friends and romantic relationships. Such individuals are less likely to engage in casual relationships. Young adults from individualistic cultures tend to focus more on love than those from collectivistic cultures. The triangular theory of love hinges on the balance of three elements: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Generally, women report greater intimacy in their relationships, while men report greater passion. Levels of commitment appear to be similar in both genders. Passion is higher at the beginning of the relationship and declines as commitment increases. Single life. The proportion of young adults aged 25 to 29 in the United States who have not yet married has increased over the decades. Since the 1960s, Americans are likely to have more sexual partners and casual sex and be more accepting of premarital sex. Cohabitation is an increasingly common lifestyle in which an unmarried couple involved in a sexual relationship lives together. The prevalence varies widely across countries. In 2021, approximately 8% of U.S. couples cohabitated. Cohabitating relationships tend to be less satisfying and less stable than marriages. U.S. family law currently gives cohabitants few of the legal rights and benefits of marriage. Marriage. Marriage customs vary widely across cultures. In general, Marriage rates are higher in lower income countries. In lower income countries, cultural norms for gender roles are stronger and have more of an effect on spousal interactions. The age at first marriage has been rising across Europe and North America. Almost a third of single adults cite getting on their feet financially and establishing themselves in stable jobs as formidable obstacles to marriage. Religious beliefs also affect the marriage rate. Window on the world: popular wedding traditions across cultures. Brides wear white in Europe and America to symbolize purity. In traditional African weddings, couples jump a broom to join the two families. A wedding ceremony or reception is a common ritual performed in almost all countries around the world. A common ritual is throwing seeds as the couple exits to symbolize prosperity. LGBTQ+ relationships. Currently, 32 countries and territories have legalized same-sex marriage. However, discrimination still exists. Some countries remain less tolerant. Committed same-sex relationships are hardly distinguishable in quality from committed heterosexual relationships. Figure 3 shows where gay marriage is legal in 2019 across the world. Marital satisfaction. Married people tend to be happier than unmarried people, although unhappy married people are less happy than those who are married, unmarried, or divorced. Marital satisfaction is positively affected by increased economic resources, equal decision-making, and non-traditional gender attitudes. Marital happiness is negatively affected by premarital cohabitation, affairs, wife's job demands, and wife's longer working hours. Sharing chores is very important to marital success for 56% of U.S. survey respondents. For most couples, the frequency of sex, sexual satisfaction, and marital satisfaction are closely related. What may be more important than the actual amount of sex a married couple has is whether or not they both desire roughly similar levels of sexual activity. Extramarital sexual activity. About 20 to 25% of married people report having had extramarital relations at some point during their married lives. Infidelity is most prevalent among young adults and is more common among husbands than wives. The internet is increasingly used to initiate affairs. Online-only affairs are perceived as betrayals similar to physical affairs, resulting in a loss of trust, psychological distress, and trauma. Parenthood. In 2020, the average age of first births in the United States rose to 30 years. The percentage of women giving birth for the first time in their late 30s and 40s has increased dramatically. Figure 4 shows the mean age of mothers at first birth in the United States. Estimates are that there are somewhere between 2 and 3.7 million children being raised by LGBTQ+ parents. Same-sex couples tend to have fewer children, are more likely to be women, and their families are more likely to include adopted children or stepchildren. An increasing proportion of U.S. couples remain childless. The percentage of households with children fell from 45% in 1970 to about 28.7% in 2016. Men and women's involvement in parenthood. Most mothers now work outside the home. Despite this trend, mothers spend more time on childcare than their counterparts in the 1960s. Today, only about 30% of children live with a breadwinner father, and a stay-at-home mother. Generally, fathers are not as involved as mothers, although their amount of time has also gone up. Fathers with long working hours report wanting more time to spend with their children. Studies show that marital satisfaction typically declines during the child-raising years. The more children, the greater the decline. Mothers of young infants tend to feel the effects most strongly. New parents experience stressors including sleep deprivation, uncertainty, and isolation. Many couples become more traditional following the birth of a child, with the woman often engaging in the bulk of caregiving and housekeeping. Perceptions of inequity can damage the marital relationship. Dual income families. Traditional gender roles are changing. 62.3% of families with children have 2 working parents. Although both men and women say balancing work and family is difficult, women report more difficulty with this challenge and say they take care of more responsibilities related to children. For those parents who are unable to establish a satisfactory work-family balance, negative effects may snowball. Cross-cultural studies have suggested that the general relationship between work-family balance and well-being holds across different countries. The effects are stronger in individualistic cultures than collectivistic cultures, and in cultures that are more egalitarian with respect to gender roles. The United States is the only industrialized nation without paid maternity leave, although some states and industries have adopted paid family plans. Overall, only 24% of Americans in the private sector workplace are able to secure some form of paid family leave. Many parents, especially those in lower paying jobs, are not able to take any leave after the birth of a baby. Divorce. The U.S. divorce rate was approximately 2.5 divorces per 1,000 people in 2021. Divorce rates vary depending on the age of the cohort examined. In younger couples, divorce rates are roughly twice what they are in the oldest cohort. Divorce rates are declining in all groups, with the sharpest drops in younger cohorts. The most frequently cited reasons for divorce include incompatibility and lack of emotional support, and spousal abuse. Other risk factors include premarital cohabitation, infidelity, a husband's unemployment, and greater economic independence among wives. Adjusting to divorce. Ending an unhappy marriage can be painful, especially when there are young children. Issues concerning custody and visitation often force divorced parents to maintain stressful contact. Especially for men, divorce can have negative effects on physical and mental health or both. Women tend to feel more financial effects. An important factor in adjustment is emotional detachment from the former spouse. An active social life, both at the time of divorce and afterward, helps. Remarriage and step-parenthood. In the United States and abroad, remarriages rates are high and rising. About 23% of U.S. marriages are remarriages for both bride and groom. Men and women living with children from a previous relationship are most likely to form a step-family marked by higher levels of conflict. Remarriages are more likely than first marriages to end in divorce. The more recent the current marriage and the older the stepchildren, the harder the step-parenting seems to be. Women especially have more difficulties raising stepchildren than biological children. The conflict experienced by step-parents can be mitigated with healthy and open communication between partners. the step family, as any family, can provide a warm, nurturing atmosphere for children.